So before I begin this video, I'd just like to say thank you everyone for liking our posts, liking our videos on YouTube, and everything you've done for us in the hobby really is appreciated. For those who haven't checked out our other side of our stuff, for example Facebook, please check out House of Chaos community on Facebook, and feel free to put up any posts of games you've been playing, if you can play at the moment, any projects you're currently working on, anything you've ever been proud of that you've painted or assembled, any fluff you've written for miniatures. It's always great to hear that. Any terrain that you've ever painted, created, drawn a sketch for. Love a bit of terrain. Please feel free to put anything like that up on our Facebook page. Okay. So, where do we begin? Welcome everyone to the Hobby Desk. Today I am painting Blood Angels vehicles, or showing you tips on how to paint Blood Angels vehicles specifically. So, I say vehicles over regular power armor because with an airbrush it's better to do this kind of technique with larger, flatter panels. So as you know, Space Marines have curved shoulder pads. This wouldn't show up as much unless you're very talented with an airbrush and can do spot highlights in the center of the panels. But what I mean by this technique is Zenithal to the max. So you can see there I have Zenithal highlighted with white underneath all this red to really make the center of the panels pop. Now this may not be realistic possibly, but it does show up a bit more across the table. It is more eye-catching and it looks a bit more sci-fi. So you could just paint a regular tank like this. So darker reds initially, and in the center of the panels lighter reds, weather it up a little bit, and it looks a little bit more realistic, and that's fine. That's totally okay, and that's how I used to paint things. I'm going a bit more this way now, purely because it is a bit more eye-popping and a little bit more sci-fi. And I think I won't do it quite so much on my troops, but I will push the center of my panels a bit more on my troops. So this is probably as far as I would like to go, whereas you know, you could do a bit more realistic and that's fine. But you could push it a bit further, make it show up a bit more again. I do think that looks a fraction silly, but that's just my personal opinion. But this is how I do things. So I'll start with a black model, like so, like Blue Peter. So I've got my tank pretty much all assembled, minus on this particular one the repulsor plates, because those are a nightmare to paint around later on else. And I've primed it, so I've either used a cheapy rattle can and get as smooth as possible, or a black airbrush primer and lay it down so it's super smooth like this one. So if you don't know about Zenithal highlighting, the idea is you're under shading, I guess. So all this is shade currently. If I add a little bit of white to my airbrush, and I'm going to do the center of each panel, when I lay my reds down, or whatever colour you decide to use, obviously there are other chapters out there. The Blood Angels are the preferable chapter, aren't they? Because everyone likes Blood Angels over Ultramarines or Salamanders, surely. But lay down your basic colour. So for this I'm going to use all Vallejo paints, and I'm going to go with a gory red. A gory red is quite a dark red, you'll see in a minute, and that'll be all over the vehicle. And then you'll notice where I have Zenithal highlighted, that area is brighter again. Then I'm going to go over that brighter areas with a bloody red, which is a brighter red, as you can probably imagine, and that'll make it pop a bit more. Now, you can push the contrast on this. You can have less Zenithal area, that is, just literally spot in the center and do a couple of layers maybe, so it's really, really bright white over the black. And then you'll have more of a contrast. So rather than this section here is a darker red and it fades into the brighter red, it will literally be dark and bright, dark and bright. And I think that probably is a bit much, in my personal opinion. This is my limit. This is about as far as I would personally push it. I'm not sure if I'm still massively happy with it, but I've done it. So, so darker, light, light, the darker bit there. I think that's okay. It looks slightly unrealistic. You know, if in real life you wouldn't get armor like that. You would get slight dark in here possibly, and that would be quite bright and dark underneath again. And that's what I'm going to try to do on this tank. I only did it like this purely to see what it would look like. So in the center of this panel, it's a brighter red than there. You wouldn't get that so much in real life, but across the other side of the table, 2 foot away, it looks quite punchy, looks quite catchy, and yeah, it's good. I mean, it's different, and I think that's what grabs people's attention. It's different, you know? So that's what we're going to aim for today. So the person that asked me this question is called Luke Lemon. So Luke, I'm basically blaming you for this. I'm going to make this video not specifically for you, but all our fans, and if everybody doesn't like it, blame Luke. I'm joking. Luke's a brilliant guy. He's back in the hobby after 18 years, so welcome back, Luke. He asked me this question, and I thought I will do the video on it, so then everybody can see how I do this particular style. So, grab your favourite white. So I'm using a dead white. It's a bit too bright. I'll tone it down a bit, people. You don't want to be blinded, do you? A Vallejo dead white. There we go. And then you can tell it's a really, really bright white. Really bright. But get your favourite white, whatever it may be. After you have primed your model black, like I said, it is easier to demonstrate on a large tank. So this is a fairly large tank as Space Marines go. So I'll just try it. Very smooth. And what I'm going to try to do is the utmost top panels. So you probably should be wearing gloves. Pushing it like that. Let's go compressor kicking in. So notice the angle I'm doing it at. So at the moment, yes, it's caught that panel there, but that's okay because I'm going to do that panel in a minute. I'm trying not to get it so much there. It doesn't matter if you get a little bit of overspray. That's not a problem because you don't want it black, black, black. When you put the red on over the top later on, you still want it to be fairly red. You don't want it to be completely black with maybe a hint of red. So I will show you what I mean later on. So I'll do the same with this particular angle. Not going to go all the way to the edge of the panel. So I'm just going to do about 3/4 of each panel if I can, like so. When it dries, I will do the edge again, just the edge, about that much, with white, just to make that white pop a little bit more, like so. So I'll do the same here, centre of the panel. Nice and smooth as I can. There we go. Probably should put a little bit of flow improver in there. Nice and gentle as I can. Like so. A little bit of spotting. This part here is going to be covered pretty much with a turret, so I'm going to lay down a little bit of the white. Probably not going to do anything there because I want that area to be quite sooty on the vents later on. But I will just, if you have an overall spray like that, almost like an overspray kind of level, it will be too much of a contrast. But like I said, push it as far as you personally want. If you really want it to be eye-catching, outstanding, then don't have that overspray area. Mark it off with tape or whatever you use to mark things off with, maybe a bit of cardboard. So you have the complete black, bright white. Because when you put down the reds, then you'll really see the difference. But I'm doing a little bit of an overspray there, even though there's going to be a shadow of where the turret's sitting. I don't want it to be completely dark. So but yeah, this is just the technique I use. I've seen a lot of other people use it before in the past. I think if it was more realistic, you'll get more shading in the recesses, and then a bit more of a blend rather than just dark red, bright red, dark red, bright red. But this is the way I'm doing it. So just want it to be a little bit eye-catchy and a little bit different. So that's the top of the tank anyway. I'll carry on with the rest of the tank, and then we start laying down those nice reds, lovely and smooth, thin coats over the top, and you can see what I mean about the Zenithal. So the most important thing for this technique, and this technique's been around for years, it's not a new thing at all. Zenithal has been known as other things: pre-shading, pre-painting, underpainting. It just makes the utmost panels brighter. Now, on a miniature, rather than doing each panel in the center like this, I would probably do gently spray the top 3/4 of a model white, and then the top third of the model really bright white. And I normally do it from about a 45-degree angle from above, so where I think the light is shining in, I would do it like that. On this, it's a completely different approach to it, but it's the same basic principle. When you put the top coat on, the paint should be brighter in the section that you've already put the white on. If you completely undercoat a model white, it'll be a brighter model. If you completely undercoat the model black, for example, it'll be a different colour altogether, even if you're using the same top colour paint. And this is exactly the same approach. It's not completely white, it's not completely black, it's just brighter in the sections that I want it to be. Make it pop a bit more. So, I'm going to use some Vallejo Gory Red this time around. And I am going to apply it to the whole model. So, put it inside my bowl. Going to add a little bit of thinner and mix it with an old brush. Remember, even these need a shake, so you could always get those shaker bearings or shaker balls. They're basically ball bearings. Nice pressure. I'm going to apply it over the whole of the model. So yeah, go as smooth as you like. You can always Zenithal. You could always spray over the whole of the model, so nowhere is completely black, or you could do it extremes of contrast, so extremely black and then stark white. But as you can tell, I've got a little bit of dusting on everything. Nothing's completely black unless it's right underneath or underneath the shadow of a gun or something like that. So I haven't gone too mad with it. Like I said before, probably should be wearing a glove nice and even over everything. And already you can see that this darkish red is certainly brighter where we applied the white underneath. So hitting everything with this, nice and even. Already that's looking quite nice. It will dull down a little bit once it dries. You can see I'm going over it twice, fairly thin. Draw with an airbrush. I'm going to get to the difficult bits first when airbrushing, and get to the top panels anytime. Okay, I'll do this to the whole of the model and come back when it's dry. So already you can see that this tank is popping. From the other side of the table it would look a bit different, a bit bright, and it's quite a lovely red as it is. But I want to add a little bit of Vallejo Bloody Red just to the centre of those panels. Add a little bit to my bowl once again. Get some tiny little drop of thinner. It's good stuff anyway, you don't really need the thinner, but stops it from spotting a bit. I'll just do the centre of the panels, like so, and the utmost edges. And at first you don't think it's making much of a difference, but it will. It will stop it from looking quite so pinky, and just push that red just a little bit more. Get out the airbrush is about to kick in. That's a good place for me to stop it and carry on with the rest of the panels off camera. And there you have it. That's the basics, anyway, on how I paint my Blood Angel tanks. So, once all the details on, like the bolt is painted, the lights are painted, the little brackets there, the guns at the back, the exhausts, put the plates on, chip it up, maybe put some decals on it, things like that, it won't look quite as bad. So at the moment it looks like there's a lot of contrast. You know, that's very, very dark red, that's bright red, but once everything's in place, it doesn't look as bad. But you could always push it harder if you want. Like I said, that bit there, I just gently sprayed white. You don't have to spray that at all. So there's more contrast or less contrast if you want it. But there you go, Luke Lemon. That's how I paint my Blood Angel tanks. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. Please hit that like button. And if you haven't done already, please subscribe. And there is an affiliated link below for Element Games. Thank you very much for supporting us, and hobby safe.